Hello, this is Tyson Farmer from TysonFarmer.com. Taking music lessons, whether online or in person, can be a great experience. But sometimes life just gets in the way and you realize you need a break or even just want to get a different perspective from a different teacher. There's not a lot of information out there about the expected protocol discontinuing lessons with a teacher. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to tactfully break up with your music teacher. Taking lessons with a music teacher can be kind of a personal thing. It's not like, say, hiring somebody to pressure wash your driveway. With the pressure washer, you might develop a personal rapport with them, but at the end of the day, it's really down to how well they work at cleaning your driveway. If they do okay but don't do a stellar job, then you just never call them back or recommend them to others. But even if they do a great job, a few years might go by before you need them again, and even then you might end up hiring somebody else. But with a music teacher, it's a lot more personal because you will usually see them on a weekly basis, and at the end of the day, the product is basically you. A quality music teacher should check up every lesson on your progress from the previous session and then push you forward by teaching you something new. So out of necessity, you have to develop a personal relationship with your music teacher and a good rapport with them, since you're going to be seeing them on a weekly basis and letting them analyze your strengths and weaknesses so they can decide how to proceed. It's a lot like working with a personal trainer to get in shape. Out of necessity, they have to get to know you personally to learn more about your goals and abilities, so they can help you reach those goals faster by taking your abilities into consideration. However, sharing all this information with the guy who pressure washes your driveway could make for a very awkward driveway cleaning situation. Because of this personal touch, having to discontinue lessons with your music teacher can sometimes be an uncomfortable thing to do. But in this video, I'm going to explain why it doesn't have to be like that and how to tactfully break things off with your music teacher. Now, it might surprise you to hear that on my end as a teacher, I'm frequently perplexed when a student or parent gets really uncomfortable when they're discontinuing lessons with me. It's as if they feel like they're betraying me or something. While sometimes I do hate losing a particularly focused and enthusiastic student, and of course I always appreciate the business they provide me, at the end of the day, I am only still just a professional working in a service industry and providing my customers with a service. I've been teaching guitar and other instruments for over 30 years, and I have taught literally hundreds of students. So when they do have to discontinue lessons, it's just one of the costs of doing business to me at this point. Now, I will admit, there is a scenario that I and almost every other music teacher truly despises. That's when a student is making good progress, but their parents hold them to a much higher and sometimes impossible expectation of performance than is even rational. So they yank the lessons as a punishment for their kid when they were actually coming along just fine at their own speed and were focused and dedicated to the lessons. I'm talking to you, Tiger Moms. Sometimes an adult will even do this to themselves as a self-punishment. This is extremely frustrating to a teacher and happens more often than you think. And most of the time it's right before a student is about to make a big breakthrough into another level of skill, but their parents or themselves made them quit because they were frustrated that they didn't see results fast enough for their tastes. For every other scenario, however, while a teacher may normally have good retention with students that stick with them for a long time, most average students come and go as a regular matter of course in music teaching life. If a teacher can't deal with that and takes it personally, they're in the wrong vocation. It's just a cost of doing business. Now, if a teacher only cares about keeping you as a steady source of income, then that means they look at you as just a cash cow. If you're not picking it up from my context, this is wrong, and it's just a bad model for business. I've had over 9 different guitar teachers in my life, and I learned something unique and valuable from all of them. But I've also had a couple teachers on that list who obviously just wanted to keep me around as a source of income, whether I was growing as a student or not. And after a while, it really started to show. I would start to notice that they were just going through the motions in the lessons whenever they did show up, would be noticeably distracted during the lessons, forget what we were working on in previous lessons, even though I had done the homework, and would just generally be blasé about the whole thing. While every music teacher has their own unique personality, style, and abilities that they can bring to the table, ideally a good teacher should look at working with a student as a chance to help them build a rewarding investment in their musical growth. And of course, obviously, have teaching as a source of income for them as well, because they enjoy teaching and they're good at it. There are many reasons you might discontinue lessons with a teacher. Now, of course, if a teacher is just bad and obviously doesn't know what they're doing, then that's always a good reason to discontinue lessons. Starting with any teacher is always a gamble on your part, despite their credentials and good recommendations. That's why I always recommend going first with any teacher who will offer a free demo lesson. It's almost like that pressure washer guy giving you a free estimate for their services. It's just good business and allows you a chance to see how they work, and if you feel you will have a good chemistry with them. Aside from that, there are many other reasons to discontinue lessons. You might think they're a great teacher, but find they just don't speak the same unique learning language as you or your kid. It might be a money issue. It might be a time issue. You might even have good intentions, but realize you're getting in over your head with the amount of time and energy it takes to move forward on your instrument at a good pace. In fact, the most common reason younger students quit is that they are taking a break for baseball, basketball, football, drama class, debate club, flag corps, or any other extracurricular obligations. However, regardless of what your reasons are for discontinuing lessons, it doesn't really matter anyway, because at the end of the day, it's not really a teacher's business why you want to stop. I mean, if you want to tell them why, go ahead, but you were not obligated to explain your decisions about where you were channeling your money and your time. Regardless of your reasons, any experienced music teacher should take your discontinuing lessons as a regular matter of course in business. Like I said, it's just a cost of doing business. Most often, as I mentioned before, most students are just taking a break for other obligations like extracurricular activities or a sudden heavy workload, and concentrating on guitar would just spread their time too thin. Stubbornly sticking with a teacher under these circumstances just for a sense of obligation would actually just be draining on your part and eventually frustrating for the teacher too, since you wouldn't even be able to apply yourself to the lessons when you do show up. Don't confuse this with just getting frustrated about not progressing fast enough, however. With many of my students, a certain percentage of my lessons are dedicated to just talking them down off the ledge for not working hard enough on their instrument. Now, it's true that almost every teacher has a secret desire that their students would have their instrument music lessons as their one and only true passion, to the exclusion of everything else, because that's often what it was like for us in our musically formative years, and is often why we got into music and teaching in the first place. However, we teachers are also aware that life doesn't really work like that for most people. In truth, most students take lessons out of curious interest or as a fun hobby, like a stress-relieving but leisurely sport. And that's okay too. Most teachers know they're teaching weekend warriors. A fellow teacher once said it best to me when he said, "I'm okay with being somebody else's golf." If you discontinue lessons with your teacher and they behave professionally by taking it with good cheer and at most saying, "Oh, that's a shame, I'll miss doing lessons together," or "I understand, so do you want to just finish out to the last lesson you've already paid for?" then that's an indication that they are experienced and professional, meaning they've been teaching long enough to have worked with so many students that it's just not that big a deal anymore. Most pro teachers realize that it's an uncomfortable and sometimes awkward thing for you to have to do this in the first place, and they will ideally do their best to make it less uncomfortable for you. After all, they don't want their last interaction with you to leave you with memories of an awkward experience and bad vibes, in the chance that you might come back for repeat business someday because of your good memories with them. However, if they take it badly or subtly make you feel guilty, you can be sure of one or all of the following things. A, they haven't been teaching for very long. B, they are really hurting for students and this is their only gig. Or C, they are a little insecure or unconfident about their teaching abilities. D, they're just the kind of person that takes things like this personally. Or E, all the above. Regardless of these reasons, keep in mind that none of this stuff I just mentioned is on you. However, if you're feeling embarrassed about the procedure and you make up a dumb story just to try to make it less awkward, you should be aware that you are probably the one bringing the awkwardness to the situation. Trust us, we've heard every reason in the book. But when it's the teacher themselves who is making the situation awkward when it just doesn't need to be, they'll probably respond to your announcement with, "Oh, okay," or a little uncomfortable silence and, "I see. Is everything okay?" Regardless, if you can tell they took it personally and they are the ones bringing the awkwardness or even passive aggressiveness to the interchange, let me suggest a bold concept by saying that they are probably not the kind of teacher you really need in your life anyway. In other words, if they're only professional and engaging and polite when they're getting your business, then you are technically just buying their professionality and politeness, which will all end when your contributions cease. So, how do you tactfully discontinue lessons? Well, if you are dealing with the first kind of teacher I described, the confident and experienced kind, it shouldn't really matter how you break things off. You don't have any obligation to justify your decisions about how you're spending your time and money, remember? In any circumstance, with these guys, honesty is almost always your best policy. As a teacher, I've always appreciated it when students told me, "I'm just running low on cash right now," or "I really just don't have the time to devote to this that I thought I would." Or even, "You're a great teacher, but I just don't think guitar is my instrument." Their honesty always made it really easy for me to say, "I understand. You know how to reach me if things change. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help." Now, a lot of times, if they're just feeling frustrated with all the challenges of learning an instrument or being stuck on a stubborn plateau of progress, I can usually talk them off the ledge with a pep talk and help build their confidence back up. But most times when a student is talking about discontinuing the lessons, I know it's not really a point that's up for discussion. However, if you don't want or need to explain yourself, or if the reasons for discontinuing lessons are just too awkward to talk about, like they really kind of stink as a teacher, but you just don't have the heart to break it to them, here's your ace in the hole. Whether you're dealing with a confident and experienced teacher or an unconfident and inexperienced one, the single most common reason for students discontinuing lessons has always been, "I'm going to take a break for a little while." Sometimes this can be followed up with a quick disclaimer about money, sports season, not enough time, life complications, or some other obligation that is taking too much of their attention, money, and time, but that's really just a polite afterthought. Just the "I'm going to take a break for a while" is usually enough. Not only are teachers so used to hearing this that it isn't really out of the ordinary for us, but this leaves things open-ended for you and easy to pick back up on if you do decide to come back, and easy to walk away from if you don't. Sometimes us teachers see "we're going to take a break for a little while" as the lessons version of the possibly relationship ending, "I think we should see other people for a while." Sure, both parties are fully aware of what's happening, but sometimes it takes the sting out of the situation. However, much like "I think we should see other people," it can also be just a cop-out when honesty is really the best policy. I think it's really all in the delivery. So for this reason, whenever we hear a student say they're going to take a break for a while, we teachers most often assume we're probably not going to see them again, and it's always a delightful surprise if they do call at the end of a summer and ask what lesson times we have available. I have even had some students that would take lessons with me for 2 or 3 months, then take 2 or 3 months off to work and practice on their own or apply themselves to a busy work cycle, and then just continue the pattern for years. I love teaching students like this because they were self-motivated and just came to me whenever they needed me to teach them something new or bump them to the next level or through another brick wall. And it was always great working with them again, seeing the progress they'd made in the meantime. Although it seems counterintuitive, these were the students that always made the best progress. In fact, this brings up a secret little life hack that I'll let you in on when it comes to getting good at an instrument. The people that make it to the top of the mountain are not the ones who mercilessly plug on like soldiers, no matter what life throws at them. They're almost always the ones who keep stubbornly coming back over and over again, even after months, when life inevitably gets in the way or they just burn out. Get it? Go ahead and expect for life to trip you off the path. In fact, plan on it. And if you keep coming back to it again and again, then it was meant to be. If you don't, then just think of it as a fun experience or hobby that you dabbled in for a while and move on, but don't beat yourself up about it. So if I never see a student again, I just always assume life got in the way or something else came up. Music lessons can be kind of like getting a gym membership. You might have good intentions or be following through on a New Year's resolution, but then life gets in the way again. Of course, I'm aware there's a chance they might have just not liked me as a teacher, but I've been teaching for over 30 years and have had literally hundreds of students in that time, so I'm confident enough in my abilities to not overthink a cancellation, especially when there will likely be another student soon to take their place. So lean on. I'm going to take a break for a little while if you can't think of anything else to say. So what do you think? Do you have any other good approaches for discontinuing lessons? Do you have any lesson breakup horror stories? Share them in the comments section below and let me know what other topics you'd like me to explore in future videos. If you like my teaching style, be sure to check out my channel for more tutorial videos and check the links below the videos for more teaching and music learning resources that I offer. I'm always adding to my video channel when I can, so check in often to see what's new. This is Tyson Farmer from tysonfarmer.com. Thanks for checking my channel out and stay self-motivated and keep playing.